All right, welcome to the special extra episode 63 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me this week, once again, like a rash that will not go away, that super RPG friend of mine, Joey.
Hi, I am he. I am Rash.
I, rash, pimples, that this
Yeah, you
Battletoads.
know what? Just pop me.
I was going to say, I went with the Battletoad jokes, but you're going to take it there. All right, fair enough.
Pop me, daddy. I don't know.
Well,
Hey,
the
we're
show's
off
canceled.
to
We're done.
a good start. Hell yeah.
So we had so much news coming on. It's been going on that we're just like, you know what? Let's just do an extra episode. So we're getting an extra one this week instead of doing our usual every other week. You're going to get 3 weeks of shows in a row. With our next show being episode 64 coming out next week, where we're going to try and get some people together to talk about the Nintendo 64 along with whatever news we get. But before then, let's find out what we've been doing real quick. Joey, what you been up to?
Well, I have to get a colonoscopy, so that's fun. So I'm gonna
camera in the butt. Gotcha.
Yep. And an endoscopy, which unfortunately you can't do both at the same time. But you
get interference in the cameras.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, I could charge a premium for my OnlyFans with that. But anyway, no, I haven't been doing a whole lot. It's only been a week since we last chatted. Yeah, not a whole lot of interesting things to update. So I'm boring. Just a pimple.
No games, nothing you've been playing?
Oh, games though?
Yeah.
Games.
This is all that, man.
That's all that. Games. Yeah, I actually I still haven't played a whole lot of that either, but I did play Rune Factory 5. And I just wrapped that up not long before this. At least I finished the main story or whatever. And it's really good, but it makes me hate the Switch. I'll say that much. So it's exclusive to the Switch. Do you know anything about this game?
I know this is the offshoot that is basically Harvest Moon without the original license, but they're part of the original developers. License went to somebody else. Otherwise, that's about it.
They dodged a bullet because that original series, or the original, it started as Harvest Moon. They lost the rights, and then they rebranded it to Story of Seasons. So Rune Factory is like a spin-off of that. And it's basically the Harvest Moon DNA with more RPG elements. So you get like party members who are your villagers, and you go through dungeons and you can fight stuff. And it's somewhere between, like typical Harvest Moon stuff. They've definitely injected some Stardew Valley in there.
Right.
Then there's some action RPG elements. Kind of feels a little bit like maybe the Trials of Mana or Mana remake, if you want to compare to something more modern.
Right.
So it's a really cool. That's awesome to me because, like, as much as I like farming simulators at times, which may come as a surprise, but yeah, despite how much I like those, I do think that I always want to just fight stuff, man. That's just what I am. My ADHD manifests itself into wanting to fight things. So I guess that's where we differ. Unless you're at the wrong gas station, right?
Oh yeah, no, I've already. Did I tell you about the person trying to fight me at the gas station?
You did, yeah, you did.
I was about to say, I was like, that was almost a fight. Anyways, continue.
But yeah, no. So it brings those things together, and it's really cool. I had never actually played the spin-off series because this is the 7th game. I think there's the 5 mainline games and then 2 just named sequels. One was for Wii, one was for PS3, I believe.
Okay.
And so I never really played this series until now, and I hear Rune Factory 4 is even better. It just, there's less stuff there because it's an 8-year-old game, but it just, apparently it's more concise. It's a little bit more, like, it feels smoother.
Right.
And this game runs like, less blow. The game feels like crap because it runs at like a steady 20 FPS, and there's dips everywhere. Every time you walk inside a building which is often, every time you fast travel, the game like stutters, and then like this isn't like it doesn't. It always happens. It literally always happens.
Right.
Every single time. I'm not exaggerating. And a lot of issues. I've had 3 crashes.
Oh, damn.
Even in combat, the game is really bad. Like, you'll move the camera just a little bit and you'll see everything just like chop up, and It's better on handheld for sure, and there's
Uh-huh.
settings that you can change in the game to make it a little smoother. I think one of the methods is to like install it on your system memory, and it's like, bro, like what? But I didn't do that latter bit, but I did change some of the in-game settings, and it fixed it a little, but it's still bad.
Yeah. The internal
So
memory, I can see how that would help, but for a Switch exclusive game, that's kind of shows they really didn't take the time to optimize shit.
yeah, man, it's really frustrating because this could have been like a really big title, I think. And I think the performance issues are really going to turn people off. It's not
Mm,
like, oh, you get like a loading time every now and then that's bad, or it's like, oh, the frame rate dips once in a while. No, it's constant, and
yeah.
it's not unplayable, obviously, but it borders on it sometimes. And like for a game that's supposed to be like very casual and like lighthearted and stuff, it makes it maybe not as bad as it would be for like Devil May Cry or like even Mario Kart or something. But
Right.
like it's still, I don't know, man, because there is combat in it. There are things that are reflex or skill based or whatever. Um,
Skill based.
but yeah, then there's some bunch of UX issues like clunky controls, all that. I can go off, but it is a really good game at its core. So
Hmm.
I'm excited to go back and try Rune Factory 4, which actually had a PS4 and PC release, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
Um, I'm guessing Rune Factory 5 will probably be a PC game at some point.
I kind
So
of hope so. It's
we'll
it's kind
see.
of disappointing because like I played Disco Elysium recently, and like the port for
That's
that on
right.
the Switch is really good. I enjoy it. It's graphically got a couple hitches here and there, but it's not like ruining the gameplay or anything. Like I'm taking that as a trade off to be portable because that game does work well as portable, and there's a little bit of load time between certain areas. But like you said, that's not that big of a deal. That's a
Yeah.
good trade off. But if the whole game ran that sluggishly,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I'd feel that.
Yeah, and it does. It definitely does. And granted, I have to expose myself. I'm very sensitive to performance issues, but despite all my complaints, at the end of the day, I'll still play the thing. I'll still enjoy it, right? So it's
You're not
very
that much of a frame rate snob, are you?
no, unless it's like something that is really, really like if I'm dying because of frame dropping and stuff
Right.
like that, I'll probably be really annoyed and I'll quit. But like, yeah, I mean, I could even play Dark Souls 1 on Switch and it's fine, and that
I
has
think
a lot of issues.
I'm more. I don't really mind frame rate. I mean, because I'm good lord, I go back and play N64 all the time. But I'm more for consistency of a frame rate. I like
You're right.
better than trying to go for a high one. You
Same.
know,
Yeah. If the game runs at 30 and it's stable, whatever. As long as
hell,
it's
if it
stable.
runs stable at 24 frames, I've had games that I've enjoyed. Whatever. As long as they're stable about it, it doesn't feel like it's juddery. You get used to it and you play it. It's when it
Mhm.
varies like crazy that you're just like, all right, this is annoying.
Honestly, the frame drops are so consistent they may as well be the norm in this game, and that's what
Oh,
like
that's bad.
that's bad. That's bad. Yeah. So
This is so. Is it like trying for a higher frame rate, but they didn't bother capping it or
I don't know what
restricting it?
happened. I think the engine sucks. That's what I'm guessing. And I don't know what engine it is. Let me do a quick Google search.
Oh,
But
okay.
no. So the assets aren't even really super, high res or high def. Oh, it's Unity. Okay, that explains it.
Oh yeah,
Oh, there it is. There it
Unity
is.
only on a handful of games has run well on the Switch. If
Yeah.
you're going to make that a Switch exclusive, that is not the engine you should pick.
No, and again, I don't think it's a total exclusive. It's probably a timed exclusive. It's a Natsume game, so it makes
Right.
sense. Um, but
Still,
but yeah, no, that
Unity.
hurts, man. But yeah, it's
We have an
baffling
answer.
because the graphics don't even look that like amazing, and it just that makes me mad. It pisses me off.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of it. It's just that engine rarely works well on the Switch, and the other systems they're able to kind of power through, but they're not the
Mhm.
best. Like I understand why people use Unity, but you think they would have thought of that?
Alas. Yeah, other
Mm.
than that though, I've been playing we just wrapped up Shining Force for Super RPG Friends, and that took 12 weeks of
Yeah.
streams to do, 2 hours a day or 2 hours of stream once a week for 12 weeks, and that was a lot of fun. It's sad to see that arc go because I played all the Shining games in that time, and uh now I'm playing through the Phantasy Star games
Mm-hmm.
in preparation for our next episode. So we'll be streaming all the Phantasy Star games as
Okay.
well as 4 for the Super RPG friends. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
So you're going through all of them?
Yeah, I will be.
Wow. Okay.
I think we said that we wanted to stream 1 through 4, like just intermittently across the course of our
Just for
Phantasy Star
fun to
4.
mess with it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sit there. I'll play. So my plan is to play through the 4 Genesis/Mega Drive games, Phantasy Star Online, the Text Adventure, and Gaiden, which just really isn't that much. But
I must say, I think
yeah,
they have some of those on the
they're all
Genesis Mini,
on.
aren't they?
Yeah, well, they're all on the Sega Classics collection, except Phantasy Star 1, which is a standalone title for the Switch. There's a Sega Ages version, which like increases the XP gain, the money, and I think there's less encounters, and it's got like a map built into the UI. So
Okay, that
it's
just sounds
like,
more fun.
yeah, the
Because I was
quality
like, I
of
think I
life
have
is
the
way up
actual
there.
cartridge, but I might just go for that one.
I mean, it depends on how much of a boomer you want to be, right? You know, like
I'm down for having it not be frustrating as much. So
right. Dude, I absolutely can't I get so lost. I get lost in a straight line. Like, and I love dungeon crawlers. So dungeon crawlers for me is like an exercise in patience. I have to be in the mood to play them. But
right,
Phantasy Star 1 is like, because everything is 3D dungeon crawling in that game, as opposed to the other ones, which are just 2D. But um that being said, Phantasy Star 1's dungeon crawling is not that bad. It's really not bad.
right.
Um it's about the level of Shining in the Darkness, maybe a little easier, maybe a little harder.
Okay.
So yeah, if you are to play it, I would actually recommend that Sega Ages version, even though I haven't touched it myself yet. It just seems like a lot better to play, especially if you've never played it. Unless you
Yeah.
want to go
That
back
sounds
to
so much better.
87. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and jump into what I've been doing lately. And well, if you guys, I don't, I actually forgot to mention on the last show. I don't know why I forgot to mention it because we had recorded it earlier. But Kirby and the Forgotten Land, I streamed it with my daughter Jennifer on the opening day, which you can see over at youtube.com/Zenspath.com because it was adorable. Like she just, we sat there and she played through the first levels for a bit until she decided she wanted to give me the Joy-Con to do co-op until she decided, nope, I want to play by myself again. So I had to give it back until she finally went, yeah, I want to go play this in my room. I was like, all right, we'll just finish the level and go. So, but I've been playing it by myself since then. And I'm sorry, this Kirby game is absolutely fantastic. Like, holy so good. It's got some nice challenges to it as well. It's not like difficulty wise, but they have every level has different challenges you can go back and find, and they're all blocked out the first time you go through. You can find them as you naturally play and unlock stuff, but then as you beat the game or beat the level, it will unlock and show one of the quests that you can do in there, like, you know, eat this many croissant or eat this many donuts on the off the tables or do this. And it's fun. I've been going back and doing that and trying to finish every world as I go through and getting them all complete. So that's been absolutely great. So play that game. It's great. The other thing I've got since the last show was my Analog Pocket finally came in. And this is Analog's FPGA based system for the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. You can play all those on it with a screen that's 10 times resolution of original Game Boy, which makes it a higher DPI and higher resolution screen than a new iPhone. Like it's a higher display than a Retina display, which is ridiculously clean for Game Boy games and stuff. But I've been going back and playing, like just digging through my Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance library, exploring titles that I haven't played in forever or just never really got around to that I had. And you and I were talking before the show about this, going through old Game Boy games, you know, of ones which were kind of funny. So I'm waiting.
When's the Game Boy episode?
Oh God, there's going to be one. We'll have to find out. I kind of wish I thought of this stuff when we first started the show. I could have done one at 8, but it would have been a different group. But we'll have to. I would like to do a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance episodes, maybe extra quarters. I just got to find the right crew to do it. Um, so yeah, the Pocket, it's kind of hard to get, but it is absolutely phenomenal. Like I can't go back and play my old Game Boy anymore. Like I'm just
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I posted some pictures of like the same game playing next to each other, going like, yeah, it's just I can't. It's night and day because this thing is just great. My dock for it is coming later this year, as well as my Game Gear adapter. And then when they become available, I'm going to order the adapters for Neo Geo Pocket and Pocket Color, for the TurboGrafx 16, for the Atari Lynx, and stuff like that, so I can play those portably as well as on the TV through the dock. So I'll be able to stream and record those. And they're doing a software update to add in Super Game Boy features into it. They haven't gone into specifics other than like you can't do the borders because those are copyrighted images and they can't copy those from Nintendo. But if nothing else, they might be able to at least enable like the color palettes, extra sound channels, multiplayer features, things like that that were added to it. Because remember, like some of the fighting games or other games, you could do 2-player on the Super Nintendo. I know Donkey Kong 94 added like voice channels and the whole color palette. Like it was a whole different game. So looking forward to that. All right, so let's jump into this news since we had so much news to talk about this week. And we're going to start off with kind of a big one. I don't know how much you read about this one, but Sony's Game Pass competitor, broken into multiple SKUs, was unveiled. This is going to launch in June for Asia, with North America and other markets coming later. It's going to be like a rollout of this. So here's the stages of what they have. You have PlayStation Plus Essential. This is basically what PlayStation Plus is now. So if you currently have PlayStation Plus, which I'm going to for another year, even though I don't really use it because they charged me yesterday. That was $54 gone.
Oh, dude, yeah, I just bought mine.
Hate when they do that to me.
A month ago.
Yeah, well, I needed that gas money, darn it. So we need to play some PlayStation games, I guess, because I need to make use of it. You still get your 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage for saves.
One thing, there's 3. They give you 3 games a month now, and now they're rolling it back to 2 for this.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Online multiplayer access, which is already on there. No changes for existing PS Plus users, other than I guess you're losing a game a month now. Yeah. It's going to be $9.99 a month, $24.99 quarterly, or $60 yearly. Then there's PlayStation Plus Extra. I love how they have these names. Everything from Essential. You get a catalog of up to 400 PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games, first and third party, which games in this tier will be downloadable to play. That'll be $15 a month, $40 a quarter, or $100 a year.
So this is the most similar. This plan right here is like the most similar to Game Pass, right?
It is.
Would you say?
I agree. It's the closest, both in cost and the amount of games.
Right.
I had it later, but we'll go ahead and mention it now. They already made it very clear, though. No games will be on here at launch. So, like, if a new game's coming out, like you can on Game Pass, when Forza came out that day, everybody that had Game Pass had Forza. Same thing with Halo, Gears of War, anything first party, they did that. Flight Simulator. Sony stated they will not do it, and we have some quotes as to why in a little bit. In the last of the normal SKUs, because they actually have a fourth one that's for certain countries, PlayStation Plus Premium. Of course, everything from Essential and Extra. Adds up to 340 additional games. PS3 is streaming only. There will be no download, no backwards compatible for it. PlayStation, PlayStation 2, and PSP for streaming, and some games will be downloadable, but they won't say which ones yet. So the cloud streaming available for PlayStation, PS2, PSP, PS4 games offered in extra and premium tiers in markets where PlayStation Now is currently available. And that's what's going to come into the next one as well. Able to stream your games via PS4 and PS5 consoles and PC. Time-limited game trials offered with this tier only. You remember we used to get demos and trials, you didn't have to pay for them.
So the trials thing, I think, is actually kind of a unique concept. Because and they haven't detailed what it is exactly, but I'm guessing it's going to be probably a context-based thing. But Um, basically you get the game and you get to play like a certain amount of time or maybe a certain amount of levels, and it's like probably more in depth than just like a demo, right? It has to
Right.
be. It has to be. I don't think it would be.
Well, I think they just let you play it for the little bit of time and then go from
Yeah.
there. But it's still kind of a weird one.
Yeah. It's
Um,
a weird middle. It's not clear really.
yeah, it's launching with Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal. No other titles have been listed so far. Um, Stranding, I'm still kind of on. God of War was really good, but they gave that away already with PS5 players.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man was great. Like,
Spider-Man's
absolutely
really
love
good.
that game. It's one of the main ones I've platinumed, one of the first games I platinumed on a PlayStation system. The updated version of it, while it sucks, it was digital only. The ray tracing options and the 60 frames were just fantastic. And then Miles Morales was even better. Like, I like the story in the first one, but they did so much more also with Miles Morales. Mortal Kombat 11 has been kind of on everything, and Returnal,
Yeah.
I have to give another shot because they finally added some of the stuff they swore they couldn't do before that people wanted, and they finally did it. Um, so this one's going to be $17.99 a month, $49.99 quarterly, or $120 yearly to get that. So backwards compatibility for a lot of this stuff is going to cost a good bit. It's either going to be $120 to $100 a year for what titles they allow for. This does not allow for putting the disc in to access it. So if you own these games, be it digital versions of titles or physical versions of it, you can't do like on an Xbox and just play them or put the disc in and have access to it. They're not doing that. Now, if you're in one of the markets like Australia, you're going to get PlayStation Plus Deluxe. Uh, they say this is for markets without cloud streaming. PlayStation Deluxe will be offered at a lower price compared to Premium and includes a catalog of beloved classic games from the original PlayStation, PS2, and PSP generations to download and play, along with timed limited game trials. Benefits from essential and extra tiers are also included. Local pricing will vary by market.
So it's the same thing as the highest tier, just slightly discounted because they don't have streaming options.
Right. So that means they're not
So
getting any PS3 access whatsoever,
yeah.
and it probably will limit what other games they have. Because I'm curious, like, what PS1, PS2, and PSP games will be streaming only? Because some companies are going to push for that. I could see Square
Right.
doing that if they
Well,
even have anything on it.
so this is the thing that hasn't been clear.
Mm-hmm.
So for other markets, the highest tier for those PS1 and PS2 games, um, ostensibly they're downloadable and playable. My guess is that the library or catalog is going to be based off of what the PlayStation 1 games on PS3 were. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my guess. Um, but are those going to be streamed as well? I really hope not, man, because I
Yeah.
and even the PS3 thing, that I mean, okay, granted, I get it. I understand why it's there because a closed source emulator on the PS4/5 is going to be of PS3 is going to be a lot of work. I don't think it's really worth it for them financially to do. Do I
Yeah.
want that? Yeah. But is
I
it
think
a
technically on a
market decision?
PS5 they could do it, but the
Yeah,
money
yeah.
would be a lot. Yeah.
Right. So it's like I get it, but it still sucks. Like I don't want to play because I don't have a PS3. I used to. It got yellow light of death, and I said I would never buy a Sony
Uh,
console again. Um, and then Bloodborne came out, and I bought another Sony console. Anyway, yeah, so it would have been cool to like be able to revisit some of the games I do have on PS3, but they might not even be playable because there's no disc compatibility. So it's like that kind of sucks. But I am interested to see what the PS1 and PS2 libraries are going to be and what their system is for playing those games.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we're not going to know about, and the fact that they're rolling this out over a series of months between different countries, like we're not going to
Yeah.
know who's getting what until then. Now, in regards to the biggest difference between Game Pass and this, where they're not allowing their games to be on their day one, SIE President Jim Ryan stated in an interview with GameIndustry.biz, Quote, regarding putting our games into this service or any of our services upon their release, as you well know, this is not a road that we've gone down in the past, and it's not a road we're going to go down with this new service. And this is where it gets weird. We feel if we were to do that with the games that we make at PlayStation Studios, that virtuous cycle will be broken.
Virtuous cycle, dude. Get
Is
off.
it just me, or does that sound like a quote from a Metal Gear game? Snitch, the virtuous cycle will be broken.
The dictator quote. Yeah, something like that.
Continuing, the level of investment that we need to make in our studios would not be possible. We think the knockoff effect of the quality of the games that we make would not be something that gamers want. Is it just me, or is that kind of a dig at Game Pass going like, oh, well, see, they do that and they're not putting money into it and their games suck because they offer that. But ours, we won't offer that because our games are going to be better. It's just a weird way to word it. I don't know. It just. Ugh.
How do you feel about the service overall? How does it sound to you?
Well, I mean, I really don't play my PS5 that much. And if this is going to be like, is this going to be shareable? Is there any kind of family stuff? Or am I going to have to pay this amount and like only I can use it, but like my kids won't be able to? Because I have the PS4 and a PS5 in the house, so that makes it kind of tricky to share it. Like, I don't think it's enough for me to use it by myself. I have so many games on different systems. Right now, I'm just sticking to the basic one just for multiplayer. And that's it. I mean, hell, even with what I said earlier, I was just going to let it lapse because I haven't played anything on it in a while. What's the point in paying for it?
Right.
But too late now. I'll have to see. I need more reason.
More data. More juice.
Well, I love backwards compatibility. That is something I use a lot because of my library and the years I've played. And that's one of the big things I like about my Xbox. Be it the digital titles I already had for Series S or the actual discs I have for Series X. Being able to take that disc, and I know it's not all of them because there's licensing issues and stuff, and they put a lot of work into it, but to be able to put in that copy of Max Payne from the original Xbox, and I'm playing it, it's running smoother, it's in 4K, it looks great on there, and I'm actually enjoying it and playing it. I don't have to go and buy that again. The option is there if I want to, and they have a lot of them on Game Pass if it's a game I don't have, but I don't have to go buy it again. And I have a lot of PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. We knew about PS3, PSP games I know would be tricky. But even like PS1 and PS2, you can't play those.
Right.
I mean, hell, PS5 can't even read CDs. So
yeah,
I guess that's part of why it can't do it. I don't know. What about you? What are your thoughts on this? I think you play more PlayStation than I do.
Yeah, well, I'm really interested in the backwards, or not even backwards compatibility, but like just back catalog. We'll say that.
What's on offer?
Right, and especially the PSP games too, because I also don't have a PSP. And there's a lot of really good PSP games that I would like to play on a TV because that's awesome. But that being said, you could also use the PS TV for Vita games too, and a lot of those PS1 games. But I don't have one, so
I'm gonna mod mine so I can play more of them.
Dude, I missed an opportunity to get that thing for $10 new. I don't know why I didn't take it. I'm a dumbass. But
I bought it from friend of the show, Dual X, my friend AJ. I think I bought it for him like $70.
They were $30 MSRP brand new for a while, man. I don't know why I did it. I'm a stupid idiot. But you know what? I did buy a Virtual Boy, so what can I say?
Well, at least the Virtual Boy, if you could play a game on it, put a game in it, it would actually play. I remember
true.
My favorite mememory of the PlayStation TV is that it lets you download and install Netflix just to tell you it's not able to play Netflix. So I was like,
hell yeah, man.
Why did I wait and do all this? Like
that flex. Yeah. Well, I think it's because Netflix stopped their service with them, but yeah.
No, even well before that, it said it wasn't.
For real?
It wasn't compatible on the PlayStation Vita TV. So I was weird. Like, why did you let me download it?
Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, no. So I'm stoked to be able to play those games. I mean, granted, I could always play those things on an emulator, no problem, and they run great. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, being able to play it from my PS5. Whoa, that was a weird crack. Being able to play it from my
You're growing up, Joey.
PS5. Yeah, I'm going through
Mazel tov.
puberty. It's a thing. My bris has just happened. Uh, so yeah, I'm stoked about that in a way. If there were things like trophy support, which yeah, right. Um, that could encourage people to play that kind of stuff more, but I doubt it because honestly, like from a market standpoint, the amount of people who are going to be buying this service just for that particular thing is probably pretty small, and that's not what it's marketed toward. It's
I
marketed toward people who want to play PS4 and 5 games
I could see
and Game
some games
Pass.
having trophy support. It may not be all of them, but there was talk about
Well,
finding ways
PS3
to kind of
maybe.
inject
Definitely.
uh, trophies into older titles,
Mhm.
even before this was announced. Like, because this was the
Yeah.
worst kept secret ever.
Yeah,
So
Spartacus.
right, so
Project
there is a
Spartacus.
possibility some of them could have trophies, and that would be a fun way to go back and play it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just to get those games at least for the I don't know 120 a year just to have
It's a
access to
lot.
those.
Right.
Because think about it, you don't get play. I guess you don't get PS1, PS2, and all those until you start paying all that extra. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
I kind of wish that the tiers were flipped or there was like a mix and match. Like you get to choose like all three for the max plan and you get to choose two for the middle tier plan or something. I wish there was some kind of customization there or they just swap tier 2 and three's benefits because that seems like a lot of money because the big thing I would get this for would be back catalog stuff,
Yeah,
right? And so
that'd be my
that's
biggest
my
interest too.
right. Anyone over the age of like 25 is probably getting it for that, right?
Right.
And I think that's kind of a little sleazy. Also, you know how I feel about these Game Pass services. I think it sets a dangerous precedent. I don't really like what this is going to do to these markets, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm very apprehensive about it. And now that Sony is, I mean, obviously they were going to join they were going to make a competitor.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. Um, it was only a matter of time, but it still gives me pause, and I'm not super sold on the idea. So yeah, I mean, honestly though, it's better than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a lot more of a hot mess, and this is just like kind of an unclear mess. So
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of weird to announce it and then have nothing available to start or talk about for months.
yeah, till June, and I think that they're letting that simmer, right? They're putting
Right.
the heat on, and they're just like they probably will adjust some things here and there.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
I don't know. I figured if they were going to announce it, they could be like, hey, maybe we'll have a limited amount of people will start bringing over to it, like, to test it out, to at least get some impressions instead of just going, here it is. All right, we're not going to say anything else. Bye.
Oh, and you know what's really great for companies? Just rolling out a service, just like without any testing. That's super great. It
Yeah.
always works really well. Everybody's extremely happy with it. People who work for the company are especially thrilled to be able to just roll out a service like
It's IT's favorite time of anything.
exactly, and that's going to be a disaster. So
Oh,
yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't mean to doom it, but I am a little excited for the back catalog stuff, and I know that's going to be very susceptible to licensing issues also.
mm-hmm.
But that's the thing that excites me the most because I think about a lot of games that are locked to PS3 or PS1 still.
Metal Gear Solid
Xeno
4.
Metal Gear Solid 4, Xenogears, a lot of like ARPGs from that time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I hate playing stuff on physical PS2, so being able to have those games is going to be awesome. But again,
Not a
depends
PS2
on the
guy, huh?
library. What's that?
Not a PS2 guy, huh?
I like PS2 games a lot. I just don't, like memory cards and the slowness of the system. Like, I got kind of rid of my good CRT, so I just have like I like basically purged a lot of stuff. So
Mm.
I don't really have a TV that I could just plug and play that. I'm gonna need to get an adapter and cables, and it's just like I don't care. I'll just emulate it.
I'm about
At
to say
this point, that's just easier.
I might be able to send you a device that'll let you play it on your TV just straight up hooked up.
Hmm.
Quite nicely.
Hmm.
We'll have
Jim
to see
Ryan
about that.
coming for your ass.
Jim Ryan can bring it.
Dude, you'd be able to. Speaking of fighting, you'd be able to whoop that dude's ass. Like no problem. That'd be clean. It'd be free.
I'd get a trophy.
Yeah, you'd get a there's trophy support there.
Right. As long as I win, I get a trophy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So one thing we're not going to be getting, no trophy for this one. It's not a win. Nintendo has officially delayed Breath of the Wild 2 from 2022 to spring of 2023 in a YouTube update. Just kind of came out of the blue. They were like, hey, by the way, here's a video with Eiji Aonuma. He stated, quote, "We previously announced that we were aiming for a 2022 release for this game. However, we have decided to extend our development time a bit and change the release to spring 2023. Okay. This has kind of become par for the course with Zelda games. They get
It's
announced,
fine.
they get delayed like 3 times, and then they come
There
out
was
on
no
a new
way that was
system.
coming out. There's no way that was coming out in 2022.
Damn, I've been so hardcore believing it would come out for like the last 2 years. That's on me. I am a sucker.
As soon as they said Pokemon's coming out this year, which even that I'm apprehensive about. As soon as they said that, I'm like, yeah, goodbye Breath of the Wild 2. That's a 2023.
So I'm thinking the game's going to be another generational bridge. Like if there's any kind of new hardware, being an update or a new system, this game I think will release on both. We're going to get it on the Switch, obviously, but at this point, being that late in the game, what do you think?
I don't think we'll see another Switch I don't think we'll see the successor of the Switch until 2024, mid 2024 at the absolute earliest.
Okay.
At the absolute earliest. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but Nintendo loves to milk those udders, man, and they're going to keep milking the udders of the Switch.
I'm actually surprised they have not released already an updated version of the Switch other than the Lite or like the OLED. I'm honestly surprised.
Rune Factory 5 almost could have been saved.
Now, if they do come out with a newer Switch, some of the Tegra like X1 their successors are backwards compatible, so they should be able to let games run at better frame rates if they allow for that. Yeah. So I guess would you be happy going back like, my God, Rune Factory at 30 frames?
Yeah, at 26, a fatty like 17 frames a second, but it's stable, baby. Yeah, I mean, I think that would make me pretty happy. I think that's one of the things I'm looking for mostly with Nintendo is to have a console that is basically the Switch in terms of form factor, but just doesn't run like a piece of crap. You know, that's
they'll be able to include ray tracing by making the glass way shinier, so you get more reflections of real world ray tracing.
Yeah.
I can't see anything because these reflections are great.
Diegetic ray tracing, yeah, it's that real, yeah.
You always see what's around you. My God, the technology.
But bringing it back from the Game Boy, actually, that's a really good segue. You were just pulling the Game Boy screen back to 2023.
I want to bring it back. One thing though that this kind of brings up that's very important in regards to Zelda. What happened to Metroid Prime 4? We haven't heard anything yet. Like we don't even get videos like this going, it's delayed. We got one 2019 going, hey, we're starting over. Like anything, guys?
See, now that might be cross-generational. I could maybe see that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Like, yeah. So the only thing we've seen about Metroid Prime 4 is Retro Studios' Twitter account had a background that might have hinted towards it, and that was it. I was like, man, we are getting hardcore desperate if that's what we're doing. Like, new piece of art. It's something. Like, well, we did lose our stuff over a title, so. All right.
True.
Bit of sad news on this one. Recently, Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins passed away suddenly on March 25th, 2022, at only 50 years old, while on tour in South America. This actually happened, I think, while we were recording the last show. It popped up and somebody sent it to me, but I felt it was I didn't have enough information to talk about it, so I didn't want to jump into that. He's been the drummer for Foo Fighters since Dave Grohl stepped up to lead after the death of Kurt Cobain and the move from Nirvana to the foundation of the Foo Fighters in the late 90s. And I've been listening to them since they started off, even back then. The band stated on Twitter, the Foo Fighters family is devastated by the tragic and untimely loss of our beloved Taylor Hawkins. His musical spirit and infectious laughter will live on with all of us forever. Our hearts go out to his wife, children, and family, and we ask that their privacy be treated with the utmost respect in this unimaginably difficult time. Even as of now, I haven't seen anything about a cause of death. I know his body has been transported back to the United States, and they're obviously keeping this private for themselves as they grieve and bury their loved one. So, just Foo Fighters is one of my favorite bands, just period. Mm-hmm. So that was a hard one to find out about. I didn't realize as much of his solo stuff that he was actually doing as well with some other musicians, including like the lead singer from Jane's Addiction and a few other guys. They made their own little band and put out an album. So I may have to go try and find that. You Foo Fighters guy at all?
Not really, but
fair enough.
It's like one of those bands that like I respect more than I listen to, you know?
Everybody's got different different likes.
Yeah. It's like I don't dislike them, but you know, I'm not like big. It's really sad to hear though, man. Like anytime like especially like somebody young and in reasonably good health or, you know, ostensibly good health, like just it sucks. Like any big musician,
50. He doesn't look it or didn't look it.
Yeah, and it's like 50 is young, man. It's like
it's only 8 years older than me.
It's not old enough to die, right? You know, I guess there's no real good age for that, but no, it sucks. And it's like I think a thing that a lot of people don't realize, it's like people just think it's like, oh, it's just a drummer of a band. And it's like, no, he did a bunch of other stuff. He did production stuff. He guested, you know, he like probably pushed for a lot of other musicians to tour with Foo Fighters and his other bands. Like people in bands like this are more than just like a person, right? Like it's difficult to just be like, oh, we'll just get a new drummer, or like that's sad, like we'll keep playing. It's like it affects a lot of things, so it's a bummer to hear for sure.
Yeah, they obviously they canceled all the rest of their tour. I mean, that was kind of a given. I knew that was going to happen before they even announced it. But like there was a lot of outpouring from different musicians talking about how he connected with them and the stuff they would do together, and you know, not only his own projects, but like he was teaching drumming to another musician's son, and you know, you've got some of the surviving members of like Led Zeppelin talking about him, and like this guy was very well known for a lot of the stuff he did. He was a hell of a drummer, like just
oh yeah, he's really good.
The drum line for a lot of that music was always just absolutely fantastic, and it was one of my favorite things I'd listen to as I drive around, you know, listening to Foo Fighters. Mm-hmm. So sad news on that one.
Yeah.
All right, so move on from that. Epic Games is once again being sued, this time by Kyle Hanagami, for copyright infringement over a dance emote called It's Complicated. So Kyle, as a background, is a professional choreographer who has worked with Jennifer Lopez, Britney Spears, and Sync, Blackpink, I'm not sure who that is, and more, as well as creating original dances for the Netflix animated movie Over the Moon. So it's not just him doing a dance, but as an actual choreographer, he creates these dances and makes them. So while this is not the first time Epic has been sued for blatantly taking a dance and repackaging it as an animation to sell, the court only ruled with them as the dances were not copyrighted originally. This one is copyrighted. And not only is it copyrighted, but he produced a very, as I would say, damning video to show how the choreography was stolen exactly as it was displayed for its opening. And I included the link on there, and I could see from your glasses, I think you were watching part of it.
Mm-hmm. That was good. That was
real life ray tracing. Yeah, I'm like watching your video on your glasses. That's great. I pay attention to weirdest stuff.
That's so good, yeah.
But it is blatant how they took it, like down to hand movements, the exact feet movement, everything. and he was smart about it. He had the different people in the video when they had done it displayed with different character models from Fortnite doing the dance that match up to the people. So you can see how it looks with different body types and different people doing it, matching the people he had. So I don't think he's going to get a giant payday from this, but I could see probably Epic settling.
Yeah.
Because that was their biggest thing. They only won the other ones because they argued that they weren't copyrighted, so they could just do it. But that's this guy's whole job. Choreography is something he actually creates and does it because it's a complex set of movements, not just
Right.
whatever dance moves.
Yeah, that's just y'all just stole it. Good. Get sued. Get sued, man.
Yeah, go and look it up. Kyle Hanagami is the guy's name, and watch that video because boy, that's a hell of an argument to come to court. Like, here's the video we made showing exactly what you did. Here's the smoking gun. Money, please. Because he wants it removed from the game, and he wants all the profit they made from it.
Good luck, but
I think he's got a case. I mean, I could see it being removed because if it's copyright, you can't just
it'll
blatantly
definitely
be
be removed. Yeah.
yeah. But I think there's gonna be some kind of payday. I don't know if they're gonna give him all that, but I think it'll be settled before it makes to court because Epic would not want that out as a big court hearing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And they've got the money to do it. They could just, all right, fine. We'll give you like 5 seconds of Fortnite money. Here you go. You're rich
so
beyond
you're
your
rich
wildest
forever.
dreams. Right?
Yeah.
Never have to worry about getting paid, just choreographer for the rest of your life.
You get paid for the amount of time the dance goes on for. Like, I don't know how long.
I
Maybe
wish
12
I could get
seconds.
that amount of money.
Yeah, that'd be nice, man. That'd be nice.
Well, you
I
think
could buy
about
some
it.
V-Bucks.
Well, about to say, remember the Epic was doing the stuff with the Ukraine with all their money. It goes up until April 3rd. There's still 2 more days for this. And they made 36 billion in like a day. Like, it was ridiculous.
Jeez.
Like, or something like that. Maybe
no,
it was just a lot of money.
Not much, but that's still yeah.
I'm exaggerating,
billions.
but it's not
yeah.
off.
Yeah, that's 36 million. I believe that. That's for sure.
Maybe it was 3.6 billion. It's gonna make me go back and look at the last notes to see because I had the note on there. I want to look because I was like, that was a stupid amount of money. I want to see how much these guys will pay. All right.
I could buy so many fucking Game Boy. Ooh.
He said the word.
Many Game Boy games.
So many flipping
Game Boy games that oh no. I was doing so well and then
it was 36 million, yeah.
Then you said damn it. I said Game Boy. That's what ruined it. I did it. Mm-hmm.
Mom, he said the dirty word.
I'm canceled.
I don't think you're canceled from that.
It's over. It's over for me. I said it.
We're just gonna PG-13 this thing. You got your one.
That's true. Yeah, it's not R yet. Right. It's true. It's not R yet. I didn't totally mess up.
What is totally messed up though? I'm not the best at these transitions, but whatever.
Good. That was good.
E3 2022 has been officially canceled. Weird timing. I thought it was an April Fool's joke at first, but no, this is real. Because by the way, we're recording this on April's 1st. The ESA statement was, quote, due to the ongoing health risks surrounding COVID-19 and its potential impact on the safety of exhibitors and attendees, E3 will not be held in person in 2022. We are nonetheless excited about the future of E3 and look forward to announcing more details soon. So, out of the past 3 years, this is now the second E3 that's been canceled, with last year's E3 being a digital-only event. A lot of people are thinking E3 has kind of dropped its importance, but you're kind of looking at it, though, at that point from just a public's view. For us, like, oh, it's all about game reveals and trailers and stuff like that. Right. But it did serve, and it did always serve a very big function for smaller game developer, or actually all game developers and publishers, to be able to meet up and make deals and talk with distributors and stores and things like that, and for stores to go and see what's coming out and to place orders. And like, it was a big part of the retail space. That's why, because E3 was not normally a public event. It was
Yeah, and
open to the
back then,
public for
yeah.
video, but not standardly. But what are your thoughts on this one? What do you think about the loss of E3 this year?
Good riddance.
Oh shit.
Uh, yeah, I don't care. I don't know if you know anything about their practices and what you have to
Oh
do
yeah,
to
no,
get
they're
stuff.
stupid about that. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
ESA
And
messed up bad.
yeah, the ESA sucks. ESA is garbage. And you know what? Like so part of me is like, oh, good riddance. But on the other hand, it's like, well, all this is going to do is like reinforce some other BS somewhere in the industry. It's like we didn't dodge a bullet here. We just displaced it, right? Like
Right.
we took the bullet and we slowed down time, moved the bullet a little bit, and hit someone else. And so it really it sucks in a way because I love the concept of like, oh, a big gaming expo, and like the way that you said it, like the way that so many people romanticize it, like it's
Right.
this big gaming expo with like cool trailers and reveals and like booth people and stuff. It's like, yeah, that aspect is really
So
fun, and I
yeah, it's
wish
always an
it was
exciting
just that.
time.
Right, and I wish it was just that, but unfortunately, with the ESA and the way that it was, and like all the stupid bureaucracy and
Yep.
crap behind it, I hope it just gets axed, man. I really
Ooh.
do, because it's just another dumb thing that people have to do. It's like, I don't know. I think that there is a place, and I wish there was a place for a big kind of convention to fill that spectacle without all the BS. But I just
Yeah.
don't. I don't know if there is.
Jeff Keighley came out and was, messaging like his event is going to be the next big thing. And I'm like, yeah, I know a lot of people
A
like
little
that, but
bit.
it's like, it's even more of like a direct, hey, we're a commercial. Like when you have awards that are literally sponsored by Mountain Dew,
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, you are giving in to the problem.
Right. No, I agree. But at the same time, it's like, uh, to have that kind of presence, it's really difficult without sponsors. Like I get it.
I understand that, but you can tone it back some. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Everything is like every single award is like presented by Monster Energy Drink. And like, look at this
right.
extreme trailer. And it's just it's
And
sort
that's
of
kind of the thing.
cringy.
Like, I don't think it needs to be an award show. I
Right.
understand having an award show, but this is more of an industry event. And like I said, it's not just
Hmm.
like the
For
trailers and
us,
stuff like
right.
that. We have Nintendo Directs. We have the PlayStation. I blanked on their name. The
The
fake Nintendo
now or
Directs.
whatever the state of play.
State of Play. Yeah. The State of Direct copycat. Um,
Right.
it's not like they were the first.
Yeah.
And then, Microsoft has some of their events they've been doing. So like a lot of the different companies are doing basically, I remember this was really funny back when the first Nintendo Directs came out. Companies and people mocked the crap out of them. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you're doing this. You're not going to, oh, you're not doing these in person stuff. That's horrible. And now look how the tables have turned and everyone's like,
No,
oh,
honestly,
yeah, no,
man,
that's so much better.
I gotta say, Nintendo always. I'm always very critical of Nintendo, but the directs I think
Fair.
are one of the best things they've done. Like to me, I mean, granted, it's that also sets a precedent. Oh, a precedent of entitlement. Oh, we're gonna get all this stuff in the next direct. Oh, like that
Right.
direct sucked. It didn't have the thing that I wanted, and
I
it's
was
like,
so happy when Smash Brothers was like, we're done with the DLC.
yeah,
Stop
yeah, yeah,
asking.
yeah. Stop, yeah, right. But like I think that was really cool, and I like the concept of other of companies, doing their own. But again, now you have this expectation that companies need to do this. So now, rather than like what you were saying, like when you had E3 or when you had conventions or expos or what have
Mm-hmm.
you, you were able to essentially use those as a platform for it, and you don't have to put a ton of money into producing directs. We'll just use that as the term that we discussed. So that's
Right.
another thing. It's just another thing that companies have to worry about,
Well, I think
and
with directs though, it's a lot cheaper from them because it would be
yeah, yeah,
to do live demos. They have to stop development or change development to do those
true.
slices of pie to play. They'd have to pay for moving the equipment, setting it up, stage shows, lights, music, all that stuff. If they do their own video stuff for the companies themselves, they save literally millions of dollars,
Yeah.
versus doing a live show. But I also do like the spectacle of a live show. Like, I miss the ones Nintendo would do where they'd be on the stage. Like, I remember
Mhm.
Reggie walking out and just pulling a DS out of his pocket, or
Yeah.
Satoru Iwata pulling out a Wii remote, things like that. You're just like, holy crap, he's got it. I miss that. But
Yeah.
the directs, they were doing their own little flavors to them. I know the past 2 years or so, they haven't as much, because with COVID and everything, they haven't been able to get together to do what they could, but they've been doing a pretty good job of putting a lot of information. But like, do you remember the direct that had them all start off as puppets all of a sudden?
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're just like, I don't know where that came from, but hey, we're puppets. That's great. Just because that was one of the later ones of Iwata as well. And I still think that might have been because of his failing health. That was kind of a way
Yeah.
to sidestep it, but I laughed my butt off. It's still one of my most memorable ones, is the puppet holding the banana,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was the Star Fox joke, I think is what it was, for Star Fox Zero. Yeah.
Mhm.
Not the best
Which
game.
sucked.
It's very pretty. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it looks good for a Wii U game. Yeah, it does look
Right.
good. I'll give it that.
It does look good, but playing it, I was just like, I'm a huge Wii U defender, but I was like, I could do without this. Come on, guys.
Yeah. I like the Wii U too, but I don't like when the gamepad is used for like physical tactile gameplay rather than like an accessory or like um
There were some good ways to do it, but I think they should have kind of had, instead of a real time both being there,
yeah.
you could have chosen to do different ones, or like, hey, we're doing a
Right.
bombing run, and as you set yourself up for the bombing run, maybe the gamepad become your lower, bombing screen or something. They could have
Mhm.
alternated with it, which would have been great. Games did that, and I loved it. But having to use it while you're playing with the two screens, even I was going like, nah,
It's weird. It's
this is not
weird.
right. Yeah.
And they shot themselves in the foot with that one because they can't port that with ease.
They could,
That's a lot. They had to do a lot of work to get that
yeah,
game to run on a Switch, and it's like it's probably not even worth it.
it'd be better just to do a sequel,
Yeah.
honestly. All right.
But
So
yeah.
our last little bit of news, this is actually one you added. Would you like to walk us through this one?
Oh yeah. So obviously, it seems like every time I'm on this show, I talk about Chrono Cross. But there's some drama that happened with the Chrono Cross remaster coming out in 3 days.
Uh-huh.
Um, where they messed up. So originally when the whole with the press materials that came out and the unveiled trailers and all the press stuff that they've been talking about this game, they said that there are soundtrack options for the game, so you could
Right.
switch between the original and the remastered soundtrack.
I think I remember us talking about that too.
We did, yeah. I mean, because you could switch between the original and the updated visuals, which is like it's not quite the original, but it's close. Whatever.
Right.
So, like, that was really cool because it's like, oh, I get to play this in 2000 mode where I have the old soundtrack and it's crappy remaster or crappy mastering, and I have the old visuals, right? And that's cool.
Right.
That's awesome. I love that the fact that they would give us that option, but apparently not. And so they rescinded their statement and they're like, yeah, there's no option to turn off the sound. There's no soundtrack option. You're stuck with the remastered soundtrack.
Mm.
So just let me clarify this
Yes.
for a moment because I don't think a lot of people understand what mastering is. Okay, so when you say mastering, remastering, that doesn't mean, adding stuff, doesn't even necessarily mean changing the mixing. So if your strings are overpowering the drums in the song, remastering doesn't mean lowering down the strings, right?
Right.
Remastering has everything to do with the way it sounds on audio devices. So compression, equalization, things like just overall like bass volume level. And it's what mastering is essentially trying to get something to sound good across all kinds of audio sources. Because you have phone speakers, 9.1 surround sound systems, Dolby Atmos, all that kind of stuff. So all remastered means is, oh, we're just trying to make it sound better on modern hardware. So we're adding compression, some EQ, maybe a filter, but it does sound different. It's not like it's not different, right?
Right.
Um, and that could definitely affect stuff because you put that flat compression on it, And what ends up happening is maybe sometimes the strings are more muted, right? So, because again, you're not changing the levels, you're just changing the output of basically the output. So that sucks because you don't have any other original soundtrack now. And granted, the original soundtrack was hella compressed because it's a PS1 era game.
Right.
And the mastering, even back then on that soundtrack, is not great. There's a lot of squatch notes. There's a lot of like weirdly like squashed dynamic range. Like there's it doesn't sound that great. If you listen to it on a CD player in a good sound system with a good sound system, even
Right.
you kind of notice it because it wasn't like mastered for that.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that sucks. And I guess what happened was when Japan sent over press information, they got something wrong and something was messed up there, and so something was extrapolated or went out too soon, and that's what happened. So here we are. Here we
That's
are.
funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that Chrono Cross remaster is still going to be kind of seems odd. I don't know what I'm thinking about it still.
Oh, I feel like in the grand scheme of things, not like if this were a rearranged soundtrack. So
Mm-hmm.
rearranged means we're re-recording it. We're doing it
Right.
with different instruments, or like just switching around the instruments. Different. It's a completely different thing. If it
Right.
were that, I'd be fuming because most of these new rearranged soundtracks kind of sound like sterile, homogenized, even.
Uh,
And so it could be worse. I'll take a being stuck with a remastered soundtrack over a rearranged soundtrack any day of the week. But it is still kind of a bummer. The remaster still looks good. It's still a little questionable in spots, but I think for what it is, it'll do well, and I think it's going to do a lot of good to try to get people more into the game and more into the original experience of the game. Because I feel like Chrono Cross never quite hit the audience that it deserved. It's a little big brain,
I
honestly.
got Chrono Cross. I have not played it very much um, because I'd loaned out. You remember the PS1, the tiny PlayStation they did,
Oh yeah, the white one.
the absolutely adorable. I love that thing. I had loaned that to a friend, and she played it. She ended up using it to play through Chrono Cross because she's like, "Oh yeah, I want to play it. I found my disc or my copy of the game, but I don't have a PlayStation." So I let her borrow it, and she borrowed it for like 3 months. I wasn't
Mhm.
too worried. I knew her, so I knew he'd come back. But as a thank you, when she brought the system back, she gave me the game. She was like, "I played it. I don't need it anymore. Here you go." So that's how I
Free
got Chrono
game.
Cross in my collection. I'm like, "All right." And I've been back and forth about trying to play it, and I keep hearing from different people. Like I obviously knew you. I'm hearing from people like, "Oh no, the game was horrible," or "No, it was absolutely
Mm-mm.
fantastic," and it's just going
Mm-mm.
back
Stop
and
it.
forth. And I'm like, I don't know which way to go with this. Like,
Uh,
I need to
can I make
break
a
down and oh,
can
go
I make a
ahead,
prediction for you?
go for it.
I feel like you probably won't be a very big fan.
Okay,
Um,
fair.
and I think it's because like the game doesn't. It's very like it really requires you to like want to pay a lot of attention to it. And I'm the same
Oh,
way as you sometimes, where I'm like, nah, I like the combat is a little boring and it's a little I almost want to say convoluted. That might not be the right word to use, but I'll go with that. It's just like it's a lot less straightforward than Chrono Trigger, and
right.
sometimes mostly for the better, but sometimes for the worse. And if you're expecting Chrono Trigger from Chrono Cross, you're going to be sorely disappointed because even though it has a lot of those like I think it has the same like ethos as
Mm-hmm.
Chrono Trigger, but like it doesn't. The gameplay elements are not the same, and it's a different tone. It's a different uh, approach to storytelling. There's a lot of stuff that is markedly different, but it's one of those games where like if you really invest yourself in it, it feels very rewarding. And there's a lot of options that you have, but sometimes you could be drowning in those options, right?
Yeah, I kind of wonder if maybe the remaster would be better if they're doing like where you could speed things up or have some of those quality of life
I
changes.
I mean, even in a game where I'm not like I'm a little bit more apprehensive about remasters, I would still probably recommend playing them because, like, exactly for what you just said.
Yeah,
Like, if the game is the same, it just some of the visuals are like a little bit like questionably modern, rather than just porting it over and whatever.
right.
Um, But as a whole, the game, nothing about the game is essentially changed apart from the fact that the worst parts of the game are now relatively circumventable by being able to press the button and speed things up, which is the biggest problem that game had, I think. It's just
Yeah.
slow as hell, bro.
Well,
It's glacial.
it's like Final Fantasy VII. Like it was not. I know it's sacrilege for many, but it was not my favorite Final Fantasy game.
Mhm.
But I, Jeremy bought it for me for Switch, and I messed around with it on there, and you can. There's a lot more quality of life with it. You can speed things up and do that, and it made it more fun to play it as a kind of a portable to dive in and out of. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm actually enjoying this more because I don't feel like I'm sitting here waiting or doing all this stuff. So yeah, who
Yeah.
knows? We can hope for that.
I I'm a big proponent for speed up options. That is my favorite thing in remasters. Just give me all that. Give me it.
So I know we talked about we weren't going to have a roundtable because it's kind of a shorter episode, but I think I have a fun question that I'd like to ask you on this one because we talked about before the show the Game Boy. So we'll talk about Game Boy and we'll include Game Boy Color.
Okay.
What was your favorite RPG from the Game Boy and Game Boy Color? My super
Ooh.
RPG friend. What would be the one that you would want if you could just pick one right now? Any of them that you would want to play?
Oh,
Which
man.
one would you go for? Just to put you on the complete spot.
Yeah, man.
I'm just kind of curious of just the gut reaction of what that would be.
Yeah, man, I suck with guns to my head, dude. I'm just not good when a gun's pointing
Editor's
at me. I
note,
don't know what to
and for
tell you.
camera, there's not actually a gun there.
You can't see it. Jeremy's in the other room and he's pointing it at me through the door. He's like, there. See, look, do you see that shit? That's his. Um, man, I want to say
Don't worry, there are no wrong answers.
I know, but I'm gonna hate myself if I give you the wrong one. I want to say either Final Fantasy Legend 2, which is Saga 2,
Mm-hmm.
or Gargoyle's Quest. But
Oh,
part of me
Gargoyle's
also
Quest. That's interesting.
wants to say Pokemon because, like, it depends on what it is, right? Because it's like if you're stuck with one game and you can only pick one, Pokemon's probably going to be it because there's
Well,
so
I don't
much
mean
stuff
like
you can
one
do.
forever. Just like if you could just like magically, I have a Game Boy and it's got one
Yeah,
RPG in it I
I'm
could
gonna
play right
play
now.
one. Yeah, it might be.
Just a personal thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be that. There's, although I did play Last Bible 2, Shin Megami Tensei, or Megami Tensei Gaiden Last Bible 2,
Mm-hmm.
which never came out here. We did get the first one, which is called Revelations: The Demon Slayer in the West, but the sequel to that
Really?
is really good, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it way more than I thought.
Okay.
So maybe that one too. It's difficult to say. What about you? What's the gun is to your head?
See, the thing is for RPGs though, is I was always most of the ones I had for that would have been like Final Fantasy Adventure, stuff like that, because I didn't have that many RPGs for the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if this one would count, but this is the one I enjoy playing. It's actually one I've been playing right now. Is the Game Boy Color version of Shadowgate.
Oh, really?
I absolutely love that game. And that's one of the ones I'd love to go back and play. I don't even know if would that even be considered like an RPG. It's more of an adventure game, I guess, like a point and click
Yeah,
type thing.
yeah, adventure. Yeah, I would say RPG. Yeah,
Yeah,
adventure
because
RPG.
between
Yeah.
that and Deja Vu, because they did a really good Deja Vu 1 and 2 for Game Boy Color,
Uh huh.
but the Shadowgate one I think is the one I really enjoy going back and playing. Even more than
Mhm.
the NES version. I just like having it as a handheld. It just feels it's a good version for me. So yeah, that'd be my choice.
Nice. I'm thinking too, and Dragon Quest 3 also up there for me.
Oh yeah, the Dragon Quest were on there.
Although
I
I
wasn't
don't
really into
really,
them that much then. So
yeah, I didn't really get into Dragon Quest like heavily until a few years ago. I always played it, but it was kind of something passive. Uh,
mm,
I would, yeah, I would put Dragon Quest 3 up there, and There's a lot of good RPGs for Game Boy, man.
Hmm.
Should play them now that you have the means
My
to do so.
analog, yeah, I should actually be kind of fun, and they're more portable. And one thing about the analog I do like is any cartridge you're playing, you can put the system to sleep and pick it back up, which is it's like one of my favorite things from the DS and that family, but now including all of these systems. So great.
Hell yeah, that rules.
All right. Well, now that I've put you on the spot for an RPG question,
Sweating. Oh boy.
yeah, you did good. You did good. I always like asking about those. The fun one will be if when I do that next week for like, what's your favorite N64 RPG?
Oh, I
Like,
could tell you
there
that
were
right off the
none.
bat. Ogre Battle 64. You asked me what my favorite N64
Oh,
game is, just without a doubt. I don't have to think about it. That's Ogre Battle 64, baby.
oh, all right.
It's so fast.
Well, that's a
Like,
preview for next week.
yeah. A little tidbit. Maybe it'll change between this week and next.
Probably
Who
not,
knows?
but yeah.
Probably not. I do want to play Harvest Moon 64 again all the way through, so we'll see what happens.
I need to see if I have that one or not. I think I do have Harvest Moon 64.
It's a good game.
Yeah, Ogre Battle I've tried to find for a while. That is not a cheap game.
No. None of the
Not
Ogre
at all.
Battles are really.
No. I got one of the Game Boy Advance ones from Japan, like box and all. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, I'll
Tactics
never
Ogre?
get to play this. Yeah, Tactics Ogre. I'm like,
Yeah, nice.
this is no English. Like,
Oh yeah, that's like such a text-heavy game too. That's funny.
right. It's like some of those old Gundam strategy games. You're just like, well, I see pretty sprites, and that's all I'm ever gonna see. All right. Well, moving on from that and finalizing it, I think we'll wrap up this show tonight. I appreciate once again coming for this extra bonus episode 63 of the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast. Joey, my lovely guest, where can we find you on the internet?
Well, you were able to find me, but I've been canceled for saying the F word on stream or on podcast. You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/podcastjump. We're on Twitch, YouTube, all the socials. And then also, like Jeremy hinted at and I talked about a little bit before, we do Super RPG Friends every Thursday night at 8 p.m. EST. And it's a weekly RPG stream with 5 people, and we play one game to completion throughout the course of many weeks. And right now we're starting Phantasy Star 4 next Thursday. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you never played that game, it'll be really fun to see. That game is amazing. It's, a lot of people didn't play because it was on the Genesis, and a lot of people who had Genesis didn't really play a lot of RPGs, at least in my anecdotal experience in the Midwest.
Right.
But yeah, come hang out. It's a lot of fun. It's mostly us goofing off and arguing about something that has nothing to do with the game.
What are you guys playing it on?
Original hardware.
Oh, fancy. Is that on the Genesis Mini?
It is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
It's I'm kind of glad I didn't win a copy. I already had it.
It's on the Genesis collection too,
which I do have.
If you have that, then it's on.
Actually, I've got that for good lord 360, for Xbox One, Switch. they put that on a lot.
Yeah. It's cool though because there's like 40 or 50 games on there, or something crazy like that, and they're all solid.
Yeah, I think all the way back to there's some of the Phantasy Stars on Dreamcast. I have the Dreamcast collection that had a couple games on it. But I think Phantasy Star was included on that. The Volume 1 thing.
Right. Yeah. And then Phantasy Star 4, I think, was on one of those. I think the third volume or something. Yeah.
Well, they never made more than one. That's the funny thing. They made Volume 1 and then never made any more.
Maybe I forgot. I know. I remember like looking at like in the early 2000s, wanting to play it, and I didn't have access to my Genesis. I was like, what could I play this on? And I remember looking at all the lists and.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of it. Sega Smash Pack Volume 1.
Smash Pack, that's what it is.
Yeah, it had like Shinobi and Golden Axe. There was like 12 games on there.
But yeah, no, it's a really cool game. I think that you would especially appreciate it.
Okay.
So come hang out.
See if I can keep up with you guys, maybe.
We'll see what happens.
All right, and I've been your host, Jeremy Powers. You can find me as at Zenspath, Zenspath, over on Twitter. You can find the official Twitter account for the Zenspath 4-Button Podcast at Zenspath Pod. It'd be Zenspath Pod. We usually make announcements and stuff on there. If you go to at Zenspath, you can talk to me directly. You can follow me over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Zenspath, or watch my videos after the fact over at youtube.com/ZenspathCom. And that's where I also do the moving forward video game series where I record the openings and demo times of games and then post those up there to kind of back it up. It's just a fun way to go through my stuff. Once my dock gets here for the analog, it's going to be like a resurgence of going through handhelds again. So I think my next part of it, even before that, is breaking out the Super Game Boy and recording the openings for games as the Super Game Boy, because you get different music, color palettes, wallpapers, and stuff like that as kind of a bonus. All right, well, that's been episode 63, and we're out. Screw you, ESA.